So, Amy,
Yes.
Brian's going to be late, so he asked me to start the meeting.
Yeah, we talked.
Say again?
Brian and I talked, so.
I see. Okay. Oh, so you know already. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so great. So, in that case, I will turn it over to somebody else other than me.
Yeah.
I've never been.
So I have the script. We're still waiting though. I would like to wait for Rachel Day.
Yeah, sure. Start as Melanie, I was just going to say, start as you like, right?
So you will let people in. You're keeping an eye on.
I'm doing that.
Yeah. So it's
At the hard job.
Yeah. Well, once Rachel comes in, I know I haven't heard from Brian if he's, if it's longer than he thinks, but I'm going to read the script and then start the discussion from there.
Super.
Started. I'm gonna ask. Hold on a sec. Until Nick gets in here. Okay. I'm gonna ask before I read the script that whoever is on here identified as Swim and NJ Nass go into your accounts and put in a full name. That's required to participate. We need to have a full name. Nick, thank you. And then whoever's with Swim, if you can just put a full name of a representative would be great.
That's the main. I texted him.
Okay, great. Okay, I am going to, thank you, Vanessa. I'm going to get started. Brian Turbot, our procurement director and director of finance, is going to be delayed a little bit for a medical reason, all's well, but I'm going to take over a bit here. I'm going to read first our remote script. Give me a minute because this is new and I have to fill in blanks. And then we'll get started with the meeting. Okay, the script is for remote meetings. Public participation guidelines. As I just mentioned, members of the public wishing to participate in the meeting must use their full name for Zoom access. If full names are not used, people will not be allowed to participate in the discussion. The town reserves the right to remove any member of the public from the meeting who does not use a full name or acts inappropriately. Rick, are you able to do a full mute of everyone? I'm hearing
full view.
A mute. Make sure everyone's muted except.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I was hearing sound like a swimming pool. Okay. Next, confirming member access as a preliminary matter. This is, I am Amy Baxter, the licensing administrator. For the town of Nantucket, permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members and staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Michael Kozort.
Here.
Janet Schulte.
Here.
Rachel Day.
I am here.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, Brian Turbot will join us shortly. Excuse me. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Jetties Beach RFP 2021 is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting, I believe, will not feature public comments. For this meeting, the Jetties Beach RFP committee is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join in. Please know also that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I know otherwise. Ground rules, we're returning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business. Wow, this is a lot. Okay. I will introduce each speaker as needed. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, each name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If you wish to engage in a conversation with others, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Great. Okay, I think that is all. I don't see Brian yet, so we're going to continue. Where we left off last meeting is at the fourth item for review, which is references. We went through the first three, giving our ratings. Oh, Brian's coming. Yay. We will wait just a minute. So great. I got the fun part. Now Brian's back. Hey, Brian.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Sorry.
Y'all good?
Uh,
On your own 2 feet?
I'm going to be okay.
Okay, good. Well, we just finished the 7 pages of comments I had to read for the meeting, and got through all that. Everyone's here now with you, so I was just going to get into the references. You want me to continue?
Yeah, you can keep right on going. You did a great job the last time, and you're doing a great job now.
Fun. All right. So we're going to go into the references. As we talked about last time, we paused after the first 3, wanting to make sure that we fairly and accurately went across all references. One of the responders had provided the references and a printout of all of those. So we wanted to make sure that we gave fair and equal time to the recommendations from all of the applicants, which we did. So everyone on the call, I believe, received the updated comments from Brian. Yes. Rachel, Janet, Michael. Yes, everyone's received that. Brian and Rebecca forwarded to us, for those on the call listening, in writing, all the comments we received from those that you put for your recommendations. As last time, what we've done is we go through each person here. We're going to go by applicant, each applicant, and go through all of your ratings. First, I will review the ratings. Again, we're talking about the references, a highly, okay, the word is escaping me. It's highly advantageous. Thank you. Okay, so the highest rating, highly advantageous, means that the proposer has provided more than 5 relevant professional or community references that clearly identifies superior service, quality, community commitment, and general customer satisfaction. Advantageous below that would be that they provided more than 3, but less than 5 relevant professional or community references that satisfactorily address service quality, community commitment, and general customer satisfaction. Not advantageous would mean they provided less than 3 of those relevant professional or community references. And Otherwise, it would be proposal does not address the criteria. So I will start with the first applicant, Swim at Jetties LLC. So I will say, I think initially I had put advantageous because of lack of maybe local or relevant. However, as we reviewed them, I believe it still is strong. They did provide more than 5 that were professional, as we have professional or community. So I can say it's highly advantageous that their references clearly demonstrated that they provide professional services, are reliable, and have a high quality and commitment. So I think I can go with that based on that criteria. Janet Schulte, comments?
Yes, I went with advantageous because I felt that they spoke to the incredible experience that Vanessa has had in her career, but I didn't really see how it was speaking directly to the business model or the business itself.
Sorry, Michael Kozart. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Thank you. I had it as highly advantageous. I mean, it's hard when you're looking at references, you know that they're going to be glowing. I don't know what due diligence maybe the town has done outside of the references that have been giving it to us by the bidders. But in terms of the references that are coming to us, I had that as highly advantageous for Swim.
Thank you. Rachel Day.
I did highly advantageous. My holdback was community commitment. Again, they had a lot of great references that I think met the satisfaction, the quality. Of course, that's normally what you would see. I saw nothing glaring that jumped out at me. I just didn't see too much that spoke to the community commitment as we listed it as one of the actual criteria as part of the references, but I felt that overall they were still represented well in a very positive light.
Thank you. Brian Turbot.
Thanks, Amy. I too scored them at highly advantageous. I think that all the references that were contacted spoke extremely highly of both Vanessa and her commitment to the process and what they saw as commitment to customer service and customer satisfaction. And also spoke a couple of the references that we did talk to as well, also spoke extremely highly of Eric as well. So I feel like they certainly met the criteria for a highly advantageous rating on that particular point.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll move to our second applicant, which is Sandbar Act Llc. I will start and absolutely rated that highly advantageous. Obviously, they are able to give references on how they actually run this facility. And they provided those references to us and additional references that were across the board from people in the community, as far as their community commitment, as far as customer service, as far as people's experience over the past 5 years, which obviously they're coming from that strong space, but it was, it hit every single relevant qualification that we look for to identify the superior service and how the community has responded to their management of that space. Janet Schulte.
I rated it highly advantageous, even though we only got 4 of them and there's supposed to be 5, but there were other people listed, so I'm not sure what we're doing with that. A good representation of people who they work with here, a neighbor, and a lot of comments on what they do with the DC restaurant and their commitment to the island.
I think, we're talking about Sandbar. I think you are talking about Lease.
I'm sorry.
was like, I think they have more than 4. I thought.
Oh, Sandbar, yeah, very highly advantageous. They had 10 letters with a range of responders, and all indicated the quality of their work and their community support. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Michael Kozort.
I had them as highly advantageous. They had numerous letters of support, as you indicated, from people who could speak to their character, their staffing, their menu, their total operations, and all were glowing. So HA.
Thank you. Rachel Day.
Same, highly advantageous. They clearly were able to demonstrate community commitment, quality service, general customer satisfaction overall. They had a great range as well from local references that highlighted that. So I liked that. They weren't all from one area. They went from professional all the way to personal as well.
Thank you. Brian Turbot.
I also rated them as well highly advantageous. I think that they had a breadth of different references and comments from a wide, variety of community members, professional members within the community. So I felt that they also met the criteria for highly advantageous for this category.
Great. Thank you so much. We're going to move to the final applicant, which is Hither Creek DBA Millie's The Harpoon. I will go off something that Janet said here. I rated it highly advantageous. Obviously, they have demonstrated being able to run a similar type of facility here on Nantucket and had community and local references. We did, Brian provided additional to the 4 they provided as well. So I think we had that. Clearly they have experience in that and in the community and provided what was needed in that area for the qualifications. Janet.
Again, I give them a highly advantageous. They have clearly established working relationships that could speak to the quality of the service. They had a neighbor responding, and their experience in DC seems to have some relevance to what they're doing here, and they clearly have a commitment to the community.
Great. Thank you. Michael Kozort.
Highly advantageous, same reasons that you both have enumerated. And I think Jay's letter at the end sort of summed it all up, but strong.
Great. Thank you. Rachel Day.
Same, highly advantageous. I think they did a good job, and their references definitely tied it back to how this would work well with Nantucket and the current operations.
Great. Brian Turbot.
I rated them highly advantageous as well. All of their references, the same as everyone commented, really spoke very highly of them and their interactions with them and how they felt they would blend the operation into the community and be a positive impact in the community. So I felt too that they also met the requirement for the highly advantageous rating.
Great. Thank you. So now, Brian, that we've gone through the 4 now are talking overall rankings. Is there anything we need to do prior to that, or do we go into that discussion?
Well, we probably can do that discussion. I think that there still has to be a discussion on while it's not a criteria, the rule of award does say that everything will be taken into account, including the pricing proposal that was submitted. I will note that under the statute, should we choose someone who did not propose the highest price, we have to clearly demonstrate why we made that decision, which is also part of this anyway. So I think that we can either discuss overall rankings first in how we feel as a group, individually, and then collectively as a group from that on each of the 3 proposals, and then discuss the pricing, or we can discuss the pricing in the beginning and then come to the overall ranking for the 3 proposals after that. I'll defer to however the group wants to do it, but those are the way that I would see it, Amy.
my first reaction, if pricing and we have to take our overall rankings in consideration and explain why maybe we chose one as the highly advantageous one, that we should know those numbers maybe going in so that we have a full and complete.
Yep. Well, they were in all, they should have been in all the
Yeah.
proposals, I think, so.
Do we need
we
to have
should
that?
all have them. So we can start with swim if you want, that's fine. If you want to do it that way, we can start with them, with their proposal. Just for everybody's, I have it right here, so it's relatively easy. So swim proposed a base rent of 150,000 in the first year, escalating by $5,000, ending in the last year of year 5 of the agreement at 170,000 for an overall proposed 5-year lease of $800,000, with a 7% above $1 million in gross sales for every single year. So the average for the 5 years is 7%. Sandbar proposed 140,000 in the first year, escalating into year 5 to $160,653.22, which is a 5-year proposed lease of $750,745.22, starting at an escalation of 5.5% above $1 million in gross sales, escalating to 7% in year 5, with an average, making that an average of 6.4% over $1 million in gross sales over the life of the agreement, potential agreement. And then Millie's, sorry, I had Millie's right here in front of me and I happened to move. Millie's started at the base minimum of 120,000, escalating through year 5 to $135,061 for a 5-year total of $637,096. And they also proposed the minimum of 5% in every single year for an average of 5% over on gross sales over $1 million for the life of the lease. So that's the basis that we're starting from, which I know that everybody did have, but it's probably just good to walk through it.
Would we consider it as we talk about our overall rankings? I know the previous ones we went through and did, each applicant went through our rankings. I somewhat consider, as we each talk, that we go over our overall rankings for all 3. Would that make sense? Because I looked, when I started overall rankings, I did the rankings and then really looked at them all together to really kind of make my considerations. Does that make any sense, or do we want to just?
It does. So what you really we're doing in the end with this is what our overall ranking is based on the proposals, and obviously if any of the discussion helps frame your decision, and then a rationale for that ranking, and then we would talk how pricing fed into this, and then we'd ultimately make a recommendation that we would have to write up and send to the board.
Okay. So should I just start and then talk about my 3 overall rankings and rationale?
You've done such a great job right today. You might as well kick us off for this part.
I don't know, the compliments. Brian wants something here. Okay. I will start. So like I mentioned, when it came to the overall rankings, I went through certainly and added up what I had said for each to come up with a ranking. And then certainly my rationale, I looked at all 3. I just want to say all 3 certainly were very professional and, full of, whether it's great experience and ideas and, anything that's lower than highly advantageous. It's not a criticism. Work and effort into it, and are very solid applicants. So I just want to make sure, and we've all talked about that across the board. So thank you for the effort that you all put into it. I will do my rankings across, starting swim at Jetties. I did a final ranking of advantageous. I thought certainly it was a very good presentation, a very professional background. They addressed, everything we talked about. my hesitations or concerns that kept away from highly advantageous were considering the services that we're looking for, the type of service we are looking for, which is not just simply about the profit, but the experience that we have for the community and in the public space. I had concern over, even though it was a very good proposal, the highly marketed aspect of it, activity event-based approach to some of it, had some concern. The proposal to do quick turnover of tables, have people go up in order and do that is not really what we're looking for, to have quick turnovers of tables. So those are the things that I had concern about. Obviously, this application was slightly higher amount than the next applicant, but I felt something Michael had said, a comment about risk versus reward, stuck with me here too. I thought some of it was possibly too ambitious for the location and what we're looking for, and that there might be some cost to that and risk to that I didn't think met what we're looking for. So that is my reasoning there. Sandbar Act LLC, highly advantageous. That is the one that I certainly rated highly advantageous. Obviously, they are the current concessionaire, but just based on what they presented to us, not only do they have a proven record of community involvement, customer service, they demonstrated in their proposal the understanding of this business with the data that they provided, with the challenges that they've had to meet during this time frame. They didn't just dial it in. They didn't rely on us knowing what it's like to be there. I felt like they showed up as they should and show the proper understanding of what we're looking for and how to move into the future and the impact that they've had on the community. So I thought that was very important. The references obviously show they're highly regarded throughout the community. And again, a clear understanding of this business location and what it takes to manage the staff and the unique challenges. And finally, Hither Creek, DBA Millie's, the Harpoon. I also rated as advantageous. They certainly have extensive experience here on Nantucket. I felt though the proposal really lacked details on how they would manage jetties. You know, Millie certainly is successful and runs a good family business, but even though it seems like a similar location, it is very different in a lot of ways. And I just don't feel like that was addressed. I had some concerns there. I would have to rely on my current knowledge of them, and I don't think we want to rubber stamp the same restaurant down here as somewhere else. We want it to be Jetties and be special for that location. So those were my three rankings. I will go to Janet Schulte for your comments.
Thank you. I concur with your comments that these are all very professional proposals. I ranked swim at Jetties advantageous. I thought it was a good proposal, but I felt there was too much going on, too complicated. And I agree with you about the hybrid model is not being what we're looking for that location. It just felt like they were rushing. And the references, as I said, were good. And I guess I also had a question about the extent of beachside experience that still lingered in the back of my head. For Millie's or for Sandbar, I thought I ranked them highly advantageous. They clearly have a solid reputation and have given this community great support and have a lot of involvement in the community. Their proposal was thorough and relevant. I don't know a whole lot about the operation, so this really did help me understand how they do and what some of their ideas are for the future, and they gave good details. For Millie's, I ranked them advantageous. They certainly have island experience, but I thought the proposal was thin. I think that's a word I used last week too. It did more to describe what they do in Mattocket than what they were planning to do for Jetties.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Janet. Michael Kozort.
Okay, starting with swim, I had them as advantageous. And yes, Amy, I'm going to use my words again, the risk reward. I think that there's a little bit more risk with swim and a high upside if they, you know, touched all the bases that they talked about because of their strong marketing piece. And I really, that resonated with me. But my antenna went up a little bit with some of that. The Sandbar I had is highly advantageous. I think I've said before, if you're the incumbent, it's a double-edged sword. If you're doing it well, being the incumbent is an advantage. If you're not doing it well in the eyes of many, it can be a disadvantage. And I think that they have done it well in the eyes of many, particularly through a very difficult time. They didn't fold their tent in the past year and a half as some people might have been able to do, or might have wanted to do because of the challenges. And they have been able to show how they know the staffing patterns that are required to run that business. Millie's, I had advantageous to highly advantageous. There are a lot of good things there. I guess I would have to agree with Janet that I think their presentation may have been along the lines of, you know what we do, you know how well we do it, and they do, but they didn't necessarily detail all of that in their proposal. So are you looking for which we have as first, second, or third, Brian, or just our rankings of highly advantageous or advantageous?
We're looking right now just for the rankings
Okay.
of the overall presentation, which we're going through. And then the next we would go in order of how we have them scored, ranked out in terms of 1, 2, and 3. And then ultimately from that, we would derive the recommendation.
Great, thank you, Michael. Rachel Day?
Sure. At the risk of slightly repeating myself, I agree with everybody, and obviously the proposals were great to review. Certainly a challenge between each one. So for swim, I had them as we're doing price separate, right? Because nobody else talked about price.
And we're going to talk about that after.
Right, okay. I had them as advantageous. I was interested in their hybrid model concept. That is definitely not something that we were necessarily looking for, but trying to conceptually figure out how that worked in the beach environment concept was a little hard. I'm not sure. Overall, with the ranking, it's sort of hard to tie that in to see how exactly that element of it could come into play in terms of their prior experience. Jetties I had is highly advantageous. Obviously, their proposal was very strong, and it looks like they are, already addressing ideas of how to improve in their current location. Like Michael said, being the incumbent, they have an advantage as it is because they know what is working and what isn't to be able to present that. But overall, my average of all of the rankings for them was highly advantageous. And then for Millie's, I was sort of in between highly advantageous and advantageous, leaning more towards advantageous. I'm sure that they demonstrated a great business model as well in their proposal. And I feel like their references did a little bit more for them in terms of the one that mentions, they do well thinking outside the box and all of that, which I liked. And I think in this type of location environment, you need to do that when things happen. You need to be able to pivot well. But I didn't necessarily see that come through in their proposal like other people indicated. It seemed like it was not necessarily a mirror to what they're currently doing, but there wasn't a lot of adjustment there that I saw that they provided. So that was mine.
Thank you. Brian?
Well, and I do want to echo, first of all, everything that the committee has said about the quality of the proposals and the time and the effort that it goes in. I think we're all very cognizant of the amount of time that it takes for somebody choosing to respond to this, to the time and effort it takes to put into it. And we certainly appreciate that. I think all the proposals overall were very well done. I agree with the group that I had also ranked swim at Jetties as advantageous. I think mainly for me, the hybrid model concept was rather an interesting and unique concept. I know that the sit down and the table side service model is something that's been there for a long time. But where I think that I had a hard time getting there for them really was with the fact that there was not a lot of clear explanation on how it would work and how they envisioned it would work in that environment. And so it was a little bit, that's where it was a little bit short for me in terms of overall ranking. And I think that there was a lot of thought put into a lot of different opportunities for other community engagement at the location. I wonder how easily it would be to pull all of that off in the first year. So with that, for those reasons, I did grade that out as overall ranking of advantageous. Sandbar, I did grade as a highly advantageous. I think their proposal hit all of the marks. And I think that it certainly showed a level of understanding about the operation of the business, the difficulties of the business. Certainly, I don't think any of us can predict what will happen without the awning there, but they certainly have an understanding of what it takes to run what it takes to run it. They're certainly involved and engaged in community activities and efforts. And so I think that overall I rank their proposal as highly advantageous. Millie's, I rate it as advantageous. I don't think that there's any doubt in my mind that the group could do it there. It was really lacking for me in terms of what they were going to do there. There was just a lot of references to the current operation. And I understand that when you're trying to propose something new, you're going to reference what you know and how you operate another location. But I think that I would have liked to have seen more about what they really were intending to do or how they plan to change and even elevate it a little bit if that was their intention. And I don't think that really came through in the proposal, at least for me. So I rated them advantageous for overall.
Okay, so what next, Brian? We've gone through everything.
Well, we've gone through everything, and I mean, I'm looking at it. I think that it's clear that everybody's number one proposal was Sandbar overall. I think based on the fact that everybody gave them highly advantageous. If I was writing it all down correctly. I don't know. I think for me, the order would be Sandbar, swim at Jetties, and then Millie's. I think one thing we should discuss about the Millie's proposal is they did offer $300,000 in capital improvements, which in their proposal, which just to inform the group does present some additional challenges because we would run into procurement issues with that, with them trying to do the work and everything. So I'm not sure that really did a lot more for me in the proposal than anything. So I had it Sandbar, swim at Jetties, and then Millie's.
Are we going through our rankings now?
Yeah, we can go through our 1, 2, 3 to see how it is.
Just listening to you, I had it Sandbar as 1, and then I had Millie's as 2 and swim 3. Obviously putting the money in, it's a bit different. However, I think there's a huge risk with something brand new that does not have that experience. So then I'm going to stick with Sandbar 1, Millie's 2, and swim 3 for me. Janet?
Yes, I had Sandbar 1, I had Millie's 2, Instrument Jetties 3. But I do have some reservation about the procurement thing, but I think I'll stay with those rankings.
Michael?
I had Sandbar 1, Millie's 2, Swim 3.
Rachel?
For pricing, I had Sandbar 1. I just felt that they showed and demonstrated a proven record of sales, so we sort of know what's coming there, and they were very close to the higher pricing of Swim. In terms of both rent, lease fee and revenue share. Swim, I had second originally, but I think my concern, my hesitation, I guess I should say, is exactly what that 7% revenue share would be. Just because the percentage is higher doesn't necessarily mean the revenue that it's balanced against is going to be what the current level of service is producing. So that's a really hard one to look at. Well, this is what, the percentage is really hard to, I think, compare to all three, regardless. And then Millie's I had as 3, simply because their lease fee and revenue share was below the other 2, even though they have a proven record. I did not take into consideration the $300,000 referenced in their proposal. It was not part of the price proposal. It was not a request as part of the price proposal. It wasn't built into their lease fee. And they never really indicated what that capital improvement was, let alone the requirements we would have if such thing was ever produced. So to me, it's a mention, but there's nothing that locks it into the proposal. It's almost like we could promise to do this, but there's no guarantee, because they would not be obligated just because they listed it in their proposal, and we don't even know what it referenced. So I didn't even take that into consideration.
Thank you. Okay, Brian, now what?
Well, I think if we're comfortable, we can make a recommendation. I mean, I think that, if we look at it on the face of it, excluding the percentage, there's over the 5 years, essentially between Sandbar and Swim, there's $50,000 difference. And then there's another 100,000 short over the 5 years between Millie's and Sandbar, and then 150 short of Swim. So I would make the recommendation that we recommend, or I would make the motion that we recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they award the 5-year lease to Sandbar at Jetties.
Okay. Do we need to vote?
Well, we need a second from somebody and then a vote.
Second the motion.
Third, yes.
So we have to take a roll call vote. So Mike,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
and Brian is an aye as well. So at this point, we, the procurement office, will write up the recommendation based on the notes and the evaluation sheets. We will forward the recommendation to them with all of the necessary information. And at the August 4th meeting, I'm expecting that myself and we'll have to present that recommendation or be prepared to answer questions about the recommendation. And if any of you can be there, that would be really great. I would appreciate that. And then it'll be in the selectmen's hand for the 4th on what they want to do in terms of the recommendation.
Okay, should we, do we have to do further submit in writing or comments or?
You need to submit the evaluation sheets to Rebecca.
Okay.
So that we can compile all of the notes and put them all together, and then we will write the recommendation to the select board.
Okay.
Okay.
And can you have her send me another one, since mine is scribbled all over and it's hard to read my notes?
Yes.
For me, it's not, but I'm sure if anybody wanted to look at them.
We can, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Like a clean one too, please.
Okay, that I can do. I'll make sure she sends it to everybody so you can make sure that the writing is legible.
Yeah.
So I think at that point, this concludes the work of the review committee, pending the August 4th meeting with the Board of Selectmen, or Select Board, excuse me, and their decision on that date.
May I ask one more question that I received from someone on the board as far as rules for select board review, their options, if they had concerns or disagreed, what that process was, if that's something that can be outlined for them?
We will outline that in the process. I'm not I mean, the purpose of the review committee is to review the proposals, give a recommendation. The procurement office writes the recommendation to the select board. The select board then is within their purview to review it, to change it, to not adopt it, I think, and then pending what they do will guide what the next steps are in the process at this point, I think. But we will outline what is needed from them in terms of the recommendation and those remaining steps for them.
Great, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. So I want to, first of all, thank all 5 people on the review committee. I know this has taken a lot of time, and we certainly appreciate all of your effort. And to everybody that is currently on the call in the meeting here, again, we certainly, on behalf of the committee, I think I can speak for everybody. We certainly appreciate all of the time and effort that everybody put into this. We know that it is not easy to do this, and it's a somewhat difficult process that a municipality has to go through to do this. So we certainly appreciate your interest and your effort in putting this forward. And the next step is to provide this to the select board and let them have the discussion. So with that, I think we are concluded until the 8/4 meeting.
Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.